Okay, today I'm gonna talk about JSX, this syntax. Right. So, first we'll talk about what is JSX. This is a xml-like JavaScript extension syntax, which is also is syntax JavaScript syntax sugar to simplify the creation of VirtualDom, right? So XML is data structure which was eventually replaced by JSON. So give you an example what is XML syntax. So suppose there is a student data structure, and we store like name, vehicle, and name, and age, and age. Just something like this. This is the XML. But it was eventually replaced by JSON because, as you can see, it is very. It seems to look like pretty redundant. When we wanna, when we wanna store a student JSON data, we can use just simply like this name and vehicle and age. Something like this. It is far simple and simple and clear, right, compared to the XML. But because React is component based, so they use XML syntax to create it. So which means that there is one component and just embed some other component inside of this outline, the outside out layer component. So we have talked about the component before. Then if you want to know that, you can just review the class from yesterday. So now we want to create VirtualDom using JSX, right? So suppose there is VDOM and again h1 and span hello world and span end tag h1, right? So again we render react render VDOM and document get element by ID. And there's no ID here, so we just create a new dev. We give it a create VirtualDom using JSX, right? So we have an element here. We put the ID here, right? So now it should be, yeah, it works, right? Hello world. And first we want to pass a value to VirtualDom. We call it element. So suppose we don't want this hello world, we want a data which is hello world, right? We want to replace pass a variable here instead of hard coded, right? So we can do data. It says data, right? So that means that this variable is not has not been parsed, right? So what we do, we give it data hello world. So what does this mean? So when you pass a variable into VirtualDom's element, you need to wrap the variable with this curly bracket when it is a variable. All right. So pass CSS to VirtualDom element. Right. So we just need to style. We give it a title and background color orange, right? So we have a style here. So in this we give it the title, and we can pass class title, right? Something like this. Refresh this page. As you can see, the background color has already become orange, but it says wording invalid DOM property class. Does it mean class name? Means that React do not allow you to use class keyword. You need to use class name, right? Pass it to class name. Why the class is not allowed? Because to class name, to differ from class keyword or in JavaScript, right? So actually you're using JSX. It's also kind of it is also JavaScript, right? So React try to avoid you mess them up, the class attribute or class property with the class keyword when you wanna create a class object, right, in JavaScript. So when you pass the CSS, the style attribute, you need to pass it to class name. So pass inline CSS to VirtualDom element. Suppose we wanna have a style here, and we give it something like how does maybe color white, font size is, as you can see, is there's red outline, and there's warning message right here, right? It means that the JavaScript React doesn't allow you to do that. So what you want to do, you just put another bracket inside of this and you paste it here. Pass it using two curly bracket. What does this mean? So first bracket means this is an JavaScript variable, and the second bracket is an JavaScript object. Right. You pass the style with in a key value pair format, right? So if you want to pass an inline value, you have to pass it with a key value pair format in a JavaScript object, right? So there's no why, you just have to do it this way. So now we want a new some other, like, we want to make this component more complex, right? We decided to put an input field here. As you can see, it gives you an error message, right? So JSX syntax does not allow you to do so, because it only allowed VirtualDom only allows one root. What is the error message again? Closing. Inline but adjacent JS elements must be wrapped in closing tag. Just only one root element. So what does this means? So in this VirtualDom, there's only one root element. So if you put like div right here, right, now it works, right? Now it works. Background orange and hello world, white color and input field, right? But all those things are just, I can just show you this. All those components, all those elements are wrapped within one element, which is a dev, right? Dev element. And suppose I have a input tag. We can just, sometimes we can write input tag like this, right? But it gives us an error message, right? On terminated JS content. What does this mean? All tags must be closed. So it will be either serve closed or closed. All right. Yeah. And now we know then how to embed another component, another element into one root element, right? So suppose I have a good element, and I will put some message here. This is good element. Refresh this. As you can see here, this is good element. It seems like work just fine, but it gives us an error message here that said tag good is unrecognized in this browser. If you mean to render a React component, start with name with the uppercase letter. So what does this mean? VirtualDom element first letter when it's lowercase, React will parse it as a page element with theme name, right? If it is a dev, it is a dev element. If it is input, it is an input element. If it is good, it is a good element. But browser doesn't know what is good elements, right? So when it's uppercase, React will parse it as a component with theme name. Yeah. So suppose there is the good start with a good, right? Good is not defined, right? So now it parsed as a component. So how do we define the component? We're gonna talk about this later. So now it just works fine. These are the basic rules or principles when you create a virtual DOM using JSX, right? Because JSX is initially created for simplify, the virtual DOM creation. So now I gonna talk about another. Gonna talk about number 3, a small practice. Print an array using JSX, right? Suppose, okay, we just need another. Just need another right here. Def element and 3 print and array practice, right? Same here. We need a data, which is an array. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need a virtual DOM. Which one? So we need a. We don't use, like, okay, so let's do, right, and something like this, right? So we can put some put it a test, right? Test, and we render VDOM document get element by ID. Right. So paste it here. We use this def element to display test and test. Right. Let's do which one? Print and array. Right, so now I get it, and now we have a title, print an area, test and test. Now we want to print like this small this array 1, 2, 3, 4 on the page. How do we do that? Again, we can just simply pass the data, not data, it's curly bracket data, and let's see what happens here. It print 1, 2, 3, 4. Seems like there's no error message, right? But there's no how do we see? there's no list, right? List atom either. So probably we can just put something like this. We can do leaf one, right? So copy and paste, paste. Refresh it again, it paste, right? Just ignore the error message right now for the moment. As you can see, it just displayed as a on sorted sorted list, right? But it doesn't seem quite right because there's no array something like this. Could be there's no such an array, right? So each element has to be wrapped with li element, right? So there's no such thing. So we wanna print an array using JSX or JS expression. What do I mean the expression? So suppose there is in the unsort list, right? We can do data for each, right? Because we want to print this array. Right here, we don't need this. We don't need this data anymore because there's no such data. Each element has to be read with li element, and so we just need a pure data like 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So we want to display it on something like this. Lit atom. No, nothing happened. Nothing happened. So you can see nothing happened. So, and just you can see React just keep giving you semicolon here to end this function. Because what? Because you can only put a JS expression here instead JS statement. So statement, simply to simplify, statement is just you did something here, right? So suppose you console log hello, right? You did something here. So this is an statement. But expression is to evaluate something. Finally, a value will be returned. So to simplify that, you can only put a value inside this curly bracket instead of doing some JavaScript function, run a JavaScript function or something like that instead of this. So what does this mean? So what JS expression includes variable a, right? So variable a, like when you can do const a equal to 5. So a is a value. A value returns a value, right? So so b, right? B is also a value return to return, and it can be assigned to constant a. A function like demo1, right? So the function is in default it returns undefined, right? A function like function test, something like this. Right? If you just do a const a, so this function will be assigned to variable a. If you don't do this, still something has been returned, right? In default it is undefined, right? So maybe like array.map, stuff like this, because when you use this method, this map API, finally a new array has been returned, right? So whatever, now you just need to return something, return an value, an exact value, instead of doing something in this page elements, right? So, so right here I want to do like map, right? What do we want to do? We get this atom, we just return a new array atom, right? So a new array has been returned. As you can see, the React can iterate array for ourselves, right? For ourselves automatically. So we just return a new array. So in this curly bracket, this is a new array, which with each element has been wrapped with list of li elements, right? So let's refresh this again. It says atom, and atom, right? So now it just works fine. But as you can see, the elements is 1, 2, 3, and 4. But why is always atom? Because this is also a value. So a variable need to be wrapped with curly bracket. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So now it just works fine as we expected. Now it's time to focus on this error message. It says a list should have a unique key property. What does this mean? Each child. So this dev element is parent, right? So whatever this h1 or ul or li, these elements are or children's, right? Or children. So they want us unique key, unique key property. So we just give it a unique key property because this method, the .map method, has a index, right? We can just give it a key. Still, we want to wrap this, right? There's no error message anymore, right? So, let's see. Each element needs a unique key property. Why React need a unique key for each element? To do DOM diffing, right? The reason why React has some better performance because they have the DOM diffing algorithm, right? So all those algorithm are based on this unique key of each element. So it is mandatory. Not mandatory, but I mean, you better do it, right? So otherwise it will give you an error message. Yeah, this is pretty much about the JSX syntax today.